Hi guys, this is Wade from Wade's Orchids. We're going to go around the greenhouse here and take a look at what's blooming. We're starting things off with a nice Renintanda here. This is Renintanda Sunrise. I was fortunate enough to get an HCC and a CCM on this. It's a very prolific plant, makes lots of divisions and branches, as you can see, and it puts on quite a show. So it's blooming here at the end of February, and nice thing to see. So we're going to go around here and start out with some Cattleyas. I'd like to introduce Kevin Hess. He's my cameraman now. So the quality of your videos will be a lot better. This is Lily Marie Almas. Clonal name is MGR. You very rarely see something that is this dark orange with a yellow lip, and that's what makes this very unusual. It's a meristem, so you might be able to get one someplace, but very, very interesting plant. Another Cattleya is over here. We have got nice white one just opening. And the name of this is Cattleya Silver Flute. This is a recent division, so you will probably see 3 flowers at least on a mature plant. What makes this nice is most of your Cattleyas that are nice full white like this usually come on plants that are 18 inches or so tall. This is just a little more over a foot. So it's a compact with the beauty of those nice big flowers. Something else here that's blooming, if I can get this back in. There we go. That's good. This is blooming for me for the first time. It is LC Cherokee Star, and it's a Laelia anceps cross. If you can show how nice and tall this flower spike is. It's incredible. Flower spike alone is almost 2 feet. And Cherokee Star is a cross of Trick or Treat crossed with Laelia anceps. So on the first bloom, we have got 8 flowers. That's just remarkable. I can only imagine what it's going to do in future years. Just beautiful, beautiful things. Okay, and more Cattleyas. This is an oldie but goodie. This is a plant that started up the orchid shipping craze in Hawaii after World War II. This is called BC Maikai, and it's an awarded plant. The clonal name is called Louise, and it's got an AM from the American Orchid Society quite a while ago. This is a little plant. These things will get to be a big bunch. They make lots of leads and just multiply like crazy. Something else that's very popular lately, this is Circle of Life. And Circle of Life has been used to create many, many hybrids. It puts out nice sized flowers on fairly small plants, and it is dominant for the flower size and the fullness of the flowers. And over here we have something that came from Circle of Life. This is called Oconee Circle, which is a cross from RLC Oconee, crossed with Circle of Life. And you can see, especially in the petals here, how similar they are to the Circle of Life. There's a lot of resemblance there. And Oconee itself is a very nice plant too. It's a nice deep red. I have one more Cattleya here that I'll show you. And this is called Potanera, RHC Jim's Little Love. It's a cross of Xin Fang, which is a Taiwan plant, crossed with Memoria gymnicu. Gymnicu's been used a fair amount in breeding, and this is a very nice, heavy textured yellow flower with a little bit of red in the lip. Makes a nice, long-lasting cattleya. Since we're here, we'll take a look at a couple dendrobiums. And this is something that I raised from a little tiny baby. And it's the first time it's bloomed. It's been blooming for quite a while. This is Dendrobium Hawaiian Punch. And the flowers on it are variable between red and purple. Sometimes they even have a little bit of a peach color in them. As you see, this is a dark purple one here. And the flowers, well, one flower has gone, but this has been open for well over 2 months. And I have a hunch that it's going to be a nice, impressive plant when it grows up, because it'll make even more flowers. Another dendrobium is down here. This is a different type of dendrobium. This is the Niger hirsute, which means black hairs. There's very tiny black hairs that are almost microscopic on this, that are along the canes. Another name for it is a Formosanum type. And this cross here is Alice Iwagana crossed with Sanders Festival. And you can see how beautiful that is, those radiating purple lines coming out from the throat. And the flowers on this will last probably a good 3 months. Very, very long-lived. One thing about all dendrobiums is they need to drain quickly, which is why we grow them in clay pots. And also they like to get pot bound. So they like to go through the wet to dry cycle very quickly, and they also like a lot of sun. Something here, we'll just do an oddball. This I have been trying to nurse along for a long, long time. This is Phyocalanthe kryptonite. And the first flower is just opened. One thing about these, now the new growth that I have is pretty good, but you see I've got a lot of spots in that. They are very sensitive to any type of fungus. So it's good to keep water off the leaves, or to make sure that you have very good air movement so that the leaves dry out quickly. Okay? Nice dark red. And this is a terrestrial. It's growing in pure sphagnum moss. So it likes to be kept moist. And we'll move along here. Another oddball. We'll do 2 more oddballs. If you can get close up on that, Kevin. This is Maxillaria variabilis. Variabilis means variable. And it comes in different color forms. That's what the variable is in here. And this is, of course, the yellow form. This one has dark red in the middle of the lip. There are some that is pure yellow without any red. There are also some that are very dark red throughout. So it has a very just name in this. It is a very easy plant to grow and bloom. It likes to be kept a bit moist, and it flowers for quite a while. The individual flowers will last, 3 to 4 weeks easily, and it keeps putting flowers out for me from January through March. So we get 2 months at least worth of nice flowering on this, and that's in a 6-inch pot there, and doing real nice. It's staying happy. Let's take a look at this other Maxillaria that's over here. This has actually been named to a different genus. It's Conaridium now. But this is a very tall growing species, as you can see, and it's just come into flower. These flowers don't last real long, maybe 2 weeks. But the flowers for a maxillaria type plant get rather large and extremely fragrant. I wish you could smell this. It's incredible. So we're going to go from there and look at some Oncidium alliance, and we'll start with this one here. This is Colmenera Maasai Red. Maasai Red was very popular, I think probably about 6 years ago or so. You could pick them up all over the place. Now it is very difficult to find them. And something that happened, this is really unusual. This is another division of the same plant, but look at the lip on that. It is just, it's very different. And I wonder if it's going to be like that every bloom now. Only time will tell. But Maasai Red lasts easily 6 weeks, very long-lasting flower. And these are small plants here. This is in a 3.5-inch pot. And once it gets a little bit bigger, you can see up to twice as many flowers. Not unusual to get well over a dozen flowers on that. And so that's it for that one. Since we're in the Oncidium Alliance, let's look at some Tolumnias here. Okay, so here we have Tolumnias. These are a type of Oncidium. It has been given their own genus now. They used to be called equitant Oncidiums, but now they are Tolumnias. And we have 3 representatives here. This is the traditional blooming time, late winter, early spring. And this one is growing really nicely. We've got, oh gee, that looks like over a dozen flowers, maybe 15 flowers on that spike, and there's a second spike over here. It's a nice sized plant. That is really nice and big for Tolumnia. And I have to pick up the plant to see what the name is. This is called Genting Pink Lady. The nice thing about these Tolumnias is you can usually get them for $20 or less, and they stay fairly small. When you are growing them, you really need to give good air movement. The closer to the fan, the better, because they grow in the Caribbean where they have got constant air movement, and that's what they like. They don't like to stay wet very long. That's also why I mount them. So here we have another one, and this one is Red Berry crossed with Beaver Hollow. That was made by a friend of mine named Jeannie Keating. And here we have a dark purple, which is Red Berry cross. Oh, it's the same cross. These two are the same cross. Red Berry crossed with Beaver Hollow. Look at that. It's hard to imagine that came out of the same seed pod, but it did. Tolumnias are very variable. If you would get a flask or a community pot of these, you would get just about every color usually that you can imagine, especially with a complex hybrid. Not so much if it is 2 species that combine to make what we call primary hybrids. Those usually are more similar. So we'll take a look at another Oncidium here. This is also mounted, and this is called Cuckoo. It's a cross with, it used to be Oncidium onustum, and onustum has been moved to a different genus right now. All I know is it starts with Z-E-D. But This is another highlight Oncidium, and the flowers last a fair amount of time. This has got 2 small branches on it. Once it gets to be a bit bigger, it will put out 4 or 5 branches and have 30 or more flowers. Get to be really, really nice. So we have a few Paphiopedilums and frags that we can look at. We'll start with this one. This is a cross involving Charles Worthii. It's called Jewel Pink. It's a cross of Egret's Jewel crossed with Paphiopedilum Charles Worthii. And you can see the influence of Charles Worthii quite a bit. In both the dorsal and also on the petals. Charles Worthii has got this massive pink dorsal, and if I could flatten this out a little bit, you can see it's even bigger. It's hard for me to do. There. Look how large that is. And another thing that Charles Worthii has is very shiny petals, and this is also. So, we have got that. Here's another Paphiopedilum. This is Jacob's Night. One of the parents of this is Venus Night, which is Paphiopedilum venustum in the parentage. And you can see on the pouch, this veining is from Paphiopedilum venustum. Also the fact that it has a small dorsal. Venustum and Sucacolii, which figures prominently in this cross, put this type of dorsal out. And Sucacolii is probably responsible for all that spotting. So you could trace things back really well with some of these if you know what the species are like. Couple of frags here. I don't have that many frags. It's unusual to have more than 1 blooming, but we have 2 blooming right now. Here is a really nice red. This is Don Wimber, which is has got frag Bessii as a parent, and that's where a lot of the red comes from. Bessii is responsible really for almost all of the red in Phragmipediums. And it is also a sequential bloomer. We can already see the next bud there. And I can feel a 3rd one down in here. So we're going to have at least 3 flowers on this. It's not unusual to get 5 or 6 on a really big mature plant. Also, look how large that plant is, because the next one I'm going to show you is quite a bit different. This is one. Look how little that is. That's in a 3.5-inch round pot. And it is called Susan Colhavi, which is a cross of Phragmipedium St. Owen flavum with Andreadii, which is a very difficult to grow species. You can see St. Owen does have a yellow form, which is called flavum. And if you look closely at the petals and dorsal sepal, you can see that isn't white, that's a yellow, a pale yellow, and that's from St. Owen. And this is blooming for the first time. What's really nice about it is it won't get much bigger than this. So it's going to be a nice miniature frag. One thing about Phragmipediums is they like more sun than Paphs, and they also like to be kept fairly wet. Going back to Paphs here, here's a Paph species. And we've had other flowers on this which have come and gone. But here we have another one. And this is Path spicerianum. It is probably one of the easiest to bloom path species that you can get. It's long-lived. It forms clumps very easily. Look at the size of the clump on that already. And I had 3 flowers already. Here's a 4th. Next year, who knows, I could have 5 or 6. They're just very rewarding plants, and they will stay in flower. Each flower lasts, at least 6 weeks. Okay, so we have a few dendrochilums that we're going to look at. This one is Dendrochilum quadrilobium. It's one of the smaller growing dendrochilums. Actually, when I bought this, it was mounted, and I thought it would do better in a pot, and it seems to like it quite a bit. One thing about these guys is they are very tiny flowers. Some of them, like Dendrochilum magnum, will put out a flower that's up to 1/2 inch, but most of them are fairly small. And there's quite a few of them. So, like I said, this is quadrilobium. This is the end of the dendrochilum flowering season. Usually they're flowering from about Christmas till March, and that's about it. And over here we have Tenolum, which is probably the smallest of all the flowers, and it puts out one heck of a show. It looks like grass the way it's growing there. And a lot of the dendrochilums are fragrant, some of them not pleasantly so. This one kind of smells like fresh mown hay. The quadrilobium that I showed you before is a little bit sweetly fragrant. One that is not fragrant, and my 3rd one here, this is Dendrochilum, yes, I forgot the name, Wenzelii. And this is the yellow form. There's also a red form. One thing with the Wenzelii, most of the dendrochilums like about the same kind of light as what you might give an Oncidium, which is maybe broken sun or very bright shade. This thing needs sunshine. And the way you can tell that it should need sunshine is because if you look at the leaves, the harder and stiffer the leaves are and the more rounded they are, the more light you should give a plant. And that is what this is. This will not bloom if you give it the same light conditions as the other dendrochilums. So keep that in mind if you go to buy one. Fairly nice flowering here. This is going to grow up a little bit more and become a real show plant in a few years. So nice plants to have. I really think everybody should have a couple dendrochilums. They're really nice plants and very easy to care for. So this is Wade from Wade's Orchids. This is the end of February. I'm going to see if I can start doing one at least once a month for greenhouse tours here. And hope to see you again. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.